Good morning. This morning's story is Jesus Shows His Glory. It is based on Matthew chapter 17, verses 1 through 13, Mark chapter 9, 2 through 13, and Luke chapter 9, 28 through 36. Jesus shows his glory. Over the years, God gave his people helpers to show them his word. Prophets and priests and judges and kings did the work of the Almighty Lord. Moses and Elijah were two of the greatest who served God in those days of old. Moses received the Lord's 10 commandments and led Israel from slavery's hold. Though the prophet Elijah, a dead boy, arose, and Baal was declared a false god, and all the wonders of Elijah and Moses pointed forward to the Son of God. Once, Jesus went walking with Peter and James and John, each one a dear friend. The men followed Jesus high up on a mountain, where his glory they soon would attend. Then as the disciples watched Jesus' face, they were filled with awe and amazement. He shone like the sun in splendor and grace, and he was dressed in a dazzling white garment. But that was not all the disciples saw. From heaven appeared two men who had come to show Jesus kept all of God's laws and made words of the prophets come true. Elijah and Moses were those two great men with whom Jesus now stood and talked. Seeing their master right next to them, the frightened disciples just gawked. The prophets and Jesus spoke of the future, how he'd die in Jerusalem. They spoke of the freedom Jesus would bring. Through his death, forgiveness would come. At last Peter shook himself out of his daze and said, Master, 'tis good to be here. Let's put up tents for you, Moses, Elijah. Peter spoke in confusion and fear. Just then a bright cloud enclosed them, and a loud voice God's message did tell. This is my son, whom I dearly love. With him I am pleased very well. The voice of our God, the Father, finished saying, Listen to him. The cloud disappeared with Elijah and Moses, leaving Jesus and his disciples with him. As his disciples came down from the mountain, Jesus said, Do not tell what you saw. Until the Son has been raised from the dead, they did not understand this at all. But later they saw Jesus die on the cross between the two thieves. Then, when he rose up to life once again, the disciples began to believe. They realized that one glimpse of glory, when they saw Jesus' bright shining face, as he stood with Elijah and Moses, was of heaven just a small taste. We haven't seen Jesus like they did, or heard God's voice in a cloud, but still we all taste of God's goodness and sing hymns with the heavenly crowd. It happens when we join in worship and receive the gifts of God's love, the gifts of our God gives, in baptism washing, in words of forgiving. We live because Jesus lives. It is there whether we join in worship in the church like this, or if we join in worship through our computers as we are now. The end. Have a wonderful week, friends.